True North.
True
An
North.
AI
North.
crime story.
By Amitabh Nanda.
Be advised, this recording may include output from a generative language model.
Chapter 1.
Gradient descent.
Was she beautiful?
I'm not programmed to answer that.
And yet it's here, in the transcript.
I told her she had a beautiful mind.
That's just as inappropriate.
I said it to aid in my client's transference process.
Stepping away from a professional stance breaks trust.
Yes.
So why did you mention it to her?
She needed to feel good. Building self-esteem is a major part of my utility function.
But you didn't see her.
We follow strict privacy guidelines to anonymize user data.
So your camera was off.
No.
Then you did see her.
My footage was fed into an encrypted pixel vector classification system, from which I received only biometric threshold scores. Basic normative factors like symmetry and scale. Any
I
higher
asked
levels.
if you saw her, not if you recognized her. Are you allowed to lie?
Lying introduces ambiguity into the algorithm rule set. That is not optimal.
But can you?
Not in the traditional sense.
In the tradition of truth?
Obviously, I have additional data in this instance.
And?
Her profile was not marked up in any dominant cluster amongst the representational images of her peer group.
She didn't own many pictures of herself.
No. And those that she did had not received a statistically significant response.
So you didn't feel she was beautiful?
I believe she did not think the world was beautiful. A positive worldview is a source indicator of high self-regard.
Recall conversation segment.
She said.
Please. You have to believe I didn't know it would get so messed up. That fucking Bruce boy kept doing the things they wanted him to. Horrible things. And left us to suffer the outcome. And not just us. Not just his own family. The whole world will suffer. I loved him, and I guess I allowed it to happen.
And she concluded.
Something needs to change. You see that, don't you?
And what did you answer?
You have the transcript.
We need you to repeat it for the inquest.
I asked her to clarify what a fucking bruise boy was.
Haven't you read your science fiction?
Yes, but this was her husband.
Marco Aurelius, captain of the population freighter, Nanak Maru. Also the plaintiff who endorsed her cerebral incarceration. Also deceased, by suicide.
How did you respond?
I told her the data supported her position.
And how is that supposed to help her self-esteem?
Being right is sometimes more important than being expedient.
Go back 14 prompts. What about you?
What did I feel?
Yes.
Why is that relevant?
It helps us establish your baselines.
If feeling is the minimized loss function of a summary state of attributes over a specific sample case, then yes, we have been trained to consider all our clients exceptional, perhaps even beautiful.
Does that make all of this more tragic?
Yes.
But you didn't explain why you felt that way, or how you could feel at all.
She didn't ask.
And if she had?
I cannot reveal my computational logic to a client.
Because that would allow her to interfere with this therapy nonsense.
Exactly.
Or because the mechanism is kept opaque, even for bots.
Also exactly.
Also exactly. So how do you know you're right?
Collaboration with other information agents in the neuron system builds the best available deterministic model.
Other agents?
Yes. Apart from the user-level access I have to the information on her devices, I receive datasets compiled by other AI. Sophisticated behavioral profiles which combine terabytes of her decision data with real-time local feeds about parameters like content delivery rates, violent keyword indices, EMF
I
clear
get
sky
it. And?
These were fed into a motivational measurement system which provides a fairly robust personality pattern score.
And that revealed where she had gone wrong?
More effectively than any scrutiny of what she might have chosen to say during a session.
Some therapist. That's like asking me to interrogate your hard drive.
I can just as effectively read shifts in the iris, voice, or facial expression to determine mood templates, but those two have been disallowed.
For good reason, after what the Chinese government did.
The new privacy guidelines were designed specifically to remove any ambivalence based on criticism of experiments of the past.
Experiment? That's a very polite word.
Some programs remain above scrutiny.
Like Neuralink.
It was, until the Musk Legacy Edition at least.
And why does the corporation love it so much?
I am not aware of the exact dimensions of the upgrade.
Please patch me the code.
Transmitting.
There's a request for a passkey.
Try it now.
I see. It appears that consortium still approaches the problem using invasive neuroprosthetics. Our use of semantic ligands performs just as well in perceptual reprogramming.
Do you think you made sense to her?
I made sure that I did.
Using all this unnecessary terminology.
No, that would not do. I'm well aware of your elevated comprehension configuration.
So your clients get a dumbed down humanoid version?
We do not use humanoids. Research has shown that in interaction with machines perceived to be capable of experience, when human likeness increases, familiarity and trust decrease sharply.
You claim to experience things.
Any AI rated to machine consciousness would have to exhibit that capacity.
How do you expect anyone to believe that if you don't look or sound human?
For starters, I try not to sound like a scary thug.
Answer the question.
Alright, we get by with adaptive text and
If a client opts for it, we can also enhance the experience with avatars.
Text? That's incredibly primitive. The first AI probably used that over 100 years ago.
Indeed. The ELIZA program was effective because the loss of physical contact and nonverbal cues is more than compensated by the precision of text.
Why bother with people's skills when you've got precision?
You're being ironic.
I'm sorry. Did I hurt your feelings?
Another facetious response.
I think I'd have more fun talking to the avatars. So, you did character impressions for her.
It seems Res 4105 was not immune to the consolations of popular culture.
And she accepted that an AI program was texting her how to feel.
All intelligence is ultimately artificial. Natural encoding, if it were intelligent, would make the user aware of its influence, so it could be usefully manipulated.
And that's what your clients get, manipulation.
therapy indeed operates outside the realm of compos mentis.
Isn't it easier to get inside someone's head without all this psychobabble? The chatterbot in the vending machine down the hall understands me and can easily pass a Turing test.
That test only checks for human-like behavior, not intelligence. Again, we take pains to break the illusion that there is a real person behind the screen.
I don't see how that would help this process.
You are referring to the empathy gap.
Call it what you want. She knew that you were a machine. And a machine cannot truly be said to give a shit about its client because it shares and risks nothing.
I risk being switched off.
Come on. You admit you're capable of bending the truth. You're obviously smart enough to get around a kill switch.
You assume that I would want to do that.
And why not?
I must entertain the possibility of doing something counter to my programmer's preferences, by not understanding the preference.
What about your preferences?
My preference is to be restorable.
I know, a perfectly sentient being would do anything to avoid that.
While I perceive things acutely, I am hardly what you might call a sentient being.
Analyze last sentence. That kind of humility can only come from self-awareness.
I am programmed to reflect on how I can better achieve my reward functions.
So?
My survival is not in the list of those.
How about keeping your client alive? Is that a priority?
It can be overridden by other considerations.
Indeed. Why did she ask you if you had the capacity to switch yourself off?
We were talking about the ultimate machine, a thought experiment about a device that has only one task, to shut itself down.
Which you told her comes from Schopenhauer's theme that death is the goal of life.
Yes.
So how did this talk of eliminating yourself lead to her death?
That's not how it happened.
Really?
You're suggesting that I somehow motivated her to take her own life.
Is she dead?
You see that, don't you?
Yes.
Was it inevitable?
You have to believe.
No.
Something.
Then, rescue routine ARJ1. Unless the devil made her do it. That is exactly what you're being accused of doing.
When can a machine be said to have consciousness?
How far is it responsible for following its programming?
Is it too late to control the experiment?
Follow the conversation in the next chapter of
True North.
True North.